They changed the rules. Mid-game, no warning, January 7th, 1980. Two Texas billionaires were about to break the entire silver market. They owned 200 million ounces. They were demanding delivery, and the vaults were running dry. So COMEX did what exchanges always do when they're losing. They made it illegal to buy. Not illegal to sell, just illegal to buy. You could exit your position. You could not add to it. Overnight, the Hunt brothers went from the richest men in America to bankrupt. But here's what nobody talks about. The people holding physical silver. The ones who actually owned the metal, not paper contracts. They didn't lose a dime. When the dust settled, silver was still 66% higher than where it started. The Hunts lost because they played the paper game. Regular people holding real metal won. And right now, in 2025, the exact same pattern is playing out. Except this time, it's worse. Much worse. I own physical silver. I've been buying since 2020, and I'm going to show you exactly why I'm not selling a single ounce, even if the price drops 50% tomorrow. But more importantly, I'm going to show you the one mistake the Hunt brothers made. The same mistake a guy named Mike made in 2011. The mistake that separates people who build generational wealth from people who watch it slip through their fingers. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where we are in a pattern that's repeated 3 times in the last century. And you'll understand why this time, the stakes are higher than they've ever been. Let me give you the framework first, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Think of it like musical chairs. 4 stages. Stage 1. Everyone's dancing, the music's playing, plenty of chairs, everything feels safe and stable. For silver, this was 1,792 to 1,964. Silver was in every American coin. You could walk into a bank and exchange paper dollars for real silver. Stable, predictable, trusted. Stage 2. Someone starts quietly removing chairs. The music keeps playing. Nobody notices because everyone's still dancing. For silver, this started in 1965 when they removed it from coins. Then, Wall Street created paper silver. Futures contracts, ETFs, derivatives. For every ounce of real silver, they created 50 paper claims, then 100. The price dropped because it looked like infinite supply. But there wasn't infinite supply. There was just infinite paper. Stage 3. The music stops. Everyone looks around and realizes there aren't enough chairs. Panic. People rush to sit down. For silver, this is the squeeze. Investors start demanding physical delivery. The vaults drain. Premiums spike. Backwardation appears, which means people pay more for silver today than for a promise of silver tomorrow. That's not normal market behavior. That's desperation. Stage 4. The fight for the last chair. People get trampled. The game breaks. For silver, this means paper contracts become worthless. Trading halts. Delivery failures cascade. And the people holding physical metal, they watch from safety. Because they already won. Here's what keeps me up at night. We are deep into stage 3 right now, and the evidence isn't hidden. It's published on COMEX's own website. You just have to know where to look. Let me show you. October 1st, 2024, COMEX registered silver, that's the metal, actually available for delivery, 80 million ounces. December 3rd, 2025, 43 million ounces. That's 46% gone in 14 months. That's not profit taking. That's a bank run on metal. And it's accelerating. November 17th, 2025, single day, 6.13 million ounces withdrawn in one day. Think about that. At that pace, the entire registered inventory disappears in 7 days. Now here's where it gets interesting. February 14th, 2025, 4 major South Korean banks simultaneously stopped selling silver to customers. Not reduced, not limited, stopped indefinitely. These are banks with global connections and unlimited capital. If they can't source silver. What does that tell you about actual availability? China raised risk classifications on precious metals. Citizens cannot buy through banks. Why would China block its own people from buying silver? Because China is hoarding for the state. They've restricted exports. They now require physical deposits for futures trading. They're preparing for something. India's silver imports hit records in 2024. Indians have lived through currency crises. They know what happens when paper fails. They're not speculating, they're protecting. And then there's backwardation. I need to explain this because it's the clearest signal that stage 3 is active. Normally, futures prices are higher than spot prices. That's because of storage costs and time value. If silver is $30 today, a contract for silver in 6 months should be $31 or $32. Right now, spot silver is trading above futures. People are paying premiums to get silver today instead of waiting for a cheaper contract tomorrow. That only happens when buyers don't trust that future silver will actually exist. That's panic buying hiding in plain sight. Okay, stop. I just threw a lot at you. Let me make it simple. Imagine you ordered 100 pizzas for a party, but when you show up, the pizzeria says they only have ingredients for 43 pizzas. What happens? Either 57 people don't eat, or the price of pizza goes through the roof. That's silver right now. Except the number of people wanting pizza keeps growing. Every single day. Solar panels. Every gigawatt of solar capacity needs roughly 1 million ounces of silver. China alone installed 250 gigawatts in 2024. That's 250 million ounces just for Chinese solar. Electric vehicles. Double the silver of a regular car. 5G towers. AI data centers. Medical equipment. Missiles. Every technology defining modern civilization runs on silver. And here's the kicker. We're mining less every year. Supply has declined since 2016. Recycling can't keep up. The deficit in 2024 was 148.9 million ounces. Fourth straight year of deficit. The math doesn't work. And the math always wins eventually. Now, let me tell you about Mike. I met Mike at a coin shop last year. Nice guy. Retired electrician. In 2010, he started buying silver. He accumulated about 500 ounces over 18 months. Average cost around $25 an ounce. Then, April 2011 happened. Silver spiked to $49. Mike was sitting on nearly 100% gains. He felt like a genius. Then May happened. Silver crashed. 49 to 35 inches 2 weeks. Mike held. It kept falling. 35 became 30. Then 26. By December, he was barely break even. He panicked. He sold everything at $27. Small profit, huge relief. And then he watched silver climb back to 30, then 35 inches 2020, then 48 inches 2024. The 500 ounces he sold for $13,000. $500 would be worth over $30,000 today. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is why he sold. Mike told me he sold because everyone was saying the silver squeeze was over. The paper market won. The manipulation would continue forever. Why hold metal when you can get cash? He made the same mistake the Hunt brothers made, just in reverse. The Hunts bet everything on paper. Leverage, futures, contracts. When the rules changed, they had no foundation. Mike bet on paper too, just the other direction. He trusted the paper price. When it crashed, he thought the real value crashed. He forgot that he owned actual metal. Metal that doesn't care what COMEX says. Metal that can't be printed or manipulated out of existence. Here's the lesson, and this is important. The paper price is a fiction. It's a negotiation between traders who mostly never touch physical metal. It can be manipulated, it can be suppressed. It can crash 40% in a month, while actual silver becomes harder and harder to find. What you own matters more than what the screen says. Mike owned 500 ounces of real silver. He could have held it for 15 years and it would still be 500 ounces. Instead, he converted it to paper dollars that have lost 30% of their purchasing power since 2011. The Hunts lost because they played with paper leverage. Mike lost because he trusted paper prices. Both forgot the same fundamental truth. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. Now let me show you what happens when this pattern completes. Because it has completed before, 3 times, and 3 times the outcome was the same, 1,934. Roosevelt confiscates gold, manipulates silver. Silver triples in 24 months. People holding physical metal preserve wealth while paper money devalues. 1,971. Nixon closes the gold window. The paper dollar becomes pure fiat. Gold goes from $35 to $850. Silver goes from $1.40 to $49. That's a 35x return. Let me put that in perspective. If you had invested $10,000 in silver in 1971 and held until 1980, you would have had $350,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's $1.3 million in today's money. From one decision. Held for 9 years. 2008. Financial crisis. Unlimited money printing. Silver goes from $9 to 49 inches 3 years. 5x return while the dollar loses purchasing power. 3 times the pattern played out. 3 times physical metal won. 3 times paper promises failed. And right now, we're watching the same setup. but with one critical difference. In 1980, 2 billionaires were squeezing silver. COMEX could change the rules on 2 people. In 2025, the entire world is squeezing silver. Industrial users who need it for production. Investors in dozens of countries. Central banks hoarding. India importing records. China restricting exports. You can't change the rules on everyone simultaneously. When stage 4 hits, and it will hit, trading halts will become common. Delivery failures will cascade. Paper contracts will be cash settled against buyer's will. And premiums will explode. Spot price says $32. Dealers charging $50, then $70, then $100, then sold out. None available at any price. Sound extreme? It already happened in 2020. COVID hit. Silver dropped to $12 on paper. But try buying physical, premiums hit $10 over spot. Dealers had month-long wait lists. The paper price was a lie. The physical market told the truth. Now here's the part most people don't want to hear. The biggest pushback I get is this. What if they just keep manipulating forever? What if the paper game never breaks? It's a fair question. Let me address it directly. Paper manipulation requires metal to occasionally deliver. When someone demands physical, COMEX has to produce it. That's what keeps the game credible. As long as there's enough metal in the vaults to satisfy the occasional delivery request, paper can control price. But what happens when the vaults are empty? 43 million ounces registered for delivery. Hundreds of millions in open interest. The ratio is 20-1. If even 10% of contract holders demand delivery, the system breaks. And here's the thing about manipulation. It works until it doesn't. Then it breaks all at once. The longer they suppress, the more violent the snapback. Every year of deficit, every million ounces drained from vaults, every industrial user stockpiling just in case, it all builds pressure on a system designed for a world that no longer exists. The question isn't whether the paper game breaks. The question is whether you're positioned before it does. Now let me be honest about what could go wrong. Mining production could surge. New deposits could be discovered. Industrial demand could collapse if we hit recession. Governments could intervene in ways we can't predict. These are real risks. I'm not dismissing them. But here's my perspective. Silver has been money for 5,000 years. Paper currencies have an average lifespan of 27 years. The US dollar has been pure fiat since 1971. That's 54 years. We're on borrowed time. And you cannot print silver. You cannot create it with policy. You cannot algorithm your way out of a supply deficit. Physics doesn't care about economic models. So what should you actually do? First, understand the difference between owning and speculating. Trading paper for quick profits. That's speculation. Know the risks. You're playing their game on their field with their rules. They can change those rules whenever they want. Buying physical silver as protection, store of value, insurance against monetary collapse, that's ownership. Real metal in your possession. Not in a vault you don't control. Not in an ETF that can cash settle. In your hands. In your safe. Where you can see it and touch it. That's the difference between Mike's mistake and Mike's lesson. Second, buy while premiums are reasonable. Right now, physical silver is available at $3 to $5 over spot. When the squeeze accelerates, premiums will be $20, $30, $50 over spot. Eventually, none available at any premium. The time to buy insurance is before the house catches fire. Third, focus on recognizable forms. American Silver Eagles, Canadian Maple Leafs, 100-ounce bars from major refiners. Don't buy collectibles. Don't buy numismatics. Don't buy fancy premium products. You want pure silver content in forms anyone, anywhere recognizes. When the system breaks, liquidity matters. Fourth, scale appropriately. This isn't about going all in. This is about allocation. 10%, maybe 15, maybe 20 if you're convinced. Enough that if the pattern completes, you're protected. Not so much that if something unexpected happens, you're destroyed. Balance conviction with caution. Fifth, store properly. Home safe. Bank safety deposit box if you trust the bank. Private vault if you prefer. The point is, you control access. No third-party custody where someone else holds keys. The entire reason to own physical is removing counterparty risk. Don't reintroduce it through bad storage. The window is closing. Not because some guru says so. Not because of hype. Because vaults are draining at record pace. Because banks are stepping back. Because backwardation is screaming that supply is gone. The market is telling you the truth. You just have to listen. Now, I want to hear from you. If Silver hits $100 by next year. What would you do differently today? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if you found this valuable, I put together a free checklist. How to buy physical silver without getting ripped off on premiums. No affiliate links, no products to sell, just the basics. Link in the description. Hit subscribe right now, because what I've shown you today is just the beginning. The silver paper market is one symptom of a much larger systemic failure. The currency crisis, the debt spiral, the derivatives time bomb, all following the same four-stage pattern, all headed to the same inevitable conclusion. And when stage 4 hits across all of them simultaneously, you'll want to know before everyone else does. The clock is ticking. I'll see you in the next one.